Hey guys, this is Rev from Into Gaming. Today I'm gonna hopefully do a short video, no tangents here, on the issues with the vehicles lately in PuBG as far as them spawning, being submerged below the ground in these quite weird angles and whatnot. Um, Typically, what we would find over the years is sometimes you would find the vehicle submerged a little bit, just the tires and whatnot. So yeah, no big deal. Um, but sometimes when you got into the vehicle, it would start doing craziness. The physics would just go crazy and shoot you to the moon, barrel rolls and whatnot. I ran across this personally, I want to say at least 2 years ago in Vikendi. Some of the garages at the compounds will actually spawn a vehicle in it, and the tires would be submerged a little bit. And one day I got into one, and it just did a barrel roll right there in the doorway, just going crazy, and exploded and killed me. Um, so at that very moment, as soon as it started spinning, I knew without a doubt what was going on with it. Their vehicles, when they're sitting dormant, they have their physics simulations disabled because physics is expensive. It's an optimization to turn it off when the actor is not being used, so to speak. We can set up all kinds of little custom events to trigger on and off as needed, dormancy, and so forth. But in general, when you spawn a vehicle, it's going to have the physics turned on. It's going to collide with the environment, and once it does that collision with the environment, you want to turn them off, and that's just an overall optimization. If you didn't do that, every vehicle would be ticking physics on your client regardless of where that vehicle was being used or not, what part of the map it was on. You could be 10 kilometers away from it, and your client would be ticking physics on that vehicle. So as an optimization, you turn it off unless it's being used or was recently used. Um, so that's it. I mean, the other side of it, if I spawn a vehicle, it's on the slope, it can run down freaking hill away from the spawned area. And I mean, I can show you that, but I think it's pointless. I think we can all just visualize that. But anyway, my generalized fix for this in game, and I've been doing this ever since that day, was I would bump the vehicle to initiate that physics interaction to get physics turned on. And then once the vehicle reset, it pops up. You can tell this in game. You'll run up to it, you'll bump it, and it'll pop up. Then it's safe to get in and then drive away, no issues. I'll show you that real quick. Just run over to it, turn on. You see it just popped up. Other things you can get into is like submerged vehicles like this, because your character itself has physics. It's a physics actor, and when it hits another physics actor, you got all these two physics actors trying to force each other away from each other, called depenetration, so that your collision and its collision aren't overlapping. They want to stay apart. I mean, they can touch, barely touch, but they don't want any overlap into clipping, basically. No clipping, and it forces apart that clipping. And the more assets you have on a vehicle, it's like the tires is a physics asset. Each tire is its own little physics asset. There's physics collision holes all over the vehicle. And the character has its capsule. So when those collide, and then you're also colliding with a terrain, which is not a physics actor, it's a static, world static, but they're going to kind of repel each other, and you can get some weird things happening. So I'm just going to barely bump that. And you see just that little bump, because my direction, it pushed it to the right. So let me actually take this little guy out of here. We'll show you that in a second. We're going to play this again, and I'm going to come around and I'm going to bump it from the other side. Just barely bump it. and see how it repelled away from me. So we have multiple, because I was able to overlap my physics collision onto that actor a certain depth before the physics was enabled. Because right now on my vehicles I have a on hit event. So when my actor hits that vehicle by running into it, it enables the physics on it because they were sleeping. Um, as I said in the beginning, if the physics is on, it's not going to penetrate. It will not penetrate the ground like that. The max depenetration velocity, regardless of it being zero default, and that's what all of these are running. I'll show you that real quick. Um, it will repel. So I go into my mesh and physics, and where's it at? Max depenetration velocity. That's not even ticked on, and in engine its default value is zero float. So if I pump that up, you'd get worse results. So we're going to get back in here and play it again. Ooh, I just directly bumped it. I'll spawn right on it. See how it's still rolling and everything? You don't want that on a spawn vehicle. Now, if I run into it directly, boom, oh, what happened? So you can get some weird things going on. Let me play it again. And it just really depends on the angle and the speed that you hit it. See, I just chucked that vehicle. Now, as a default, what I've done in the level editor and its event graph is I set up a button, my Q button, to just block these guys. That's just turning on simulate physics sims by default. Just turning it on, boop, and you get certain effect. But if I run into it at weird angles, we start getting other effects. Okay, I just flipped that guy. I can come over to this guy and bump him. He's fine. Get in him. I can drive him. No big deal. Not a big deal. But yeah, so spawning the vehicle, that's where everything kind of gets all weird. And so here's a vehicle spawner. This is all that it really is. We're getting the actor location of the spawner thing. Let me actually drag one of these in. So, boom, I can now spawn a vehicle there. And let's take him, and I'm going to move him over here. Lift him off the ground, snap him to the ground. So it's perfectly snapped to the ground. So basically what's going on here is begin play. We're going to set up a delay for 3 seconds so I can turn and look at it, and then we're going to call this event, which is right here. This event goes through, just make sure that it's the server that's actually spawning it. This is for multiplayer. Air quoted that, by the way. Get actor location. We're going to take the actor location, that little thing that I dropped in. That's the actor that's doing all this work. We're going to get its world location, and we're going to add 200 centimeters to the Z, so lift it off the ground, and then we're going to spawn the vehicle. And then we're going to wake the physics, we're going to delay 2 seconds, and then we're going to sleep the physics, and then we're going to destroy this actor out of the game world. We don't need it anymore. So that's basically what this is doing. So let's watch and see what it does. Boop, spawn the vehicle. You see how it was rolling? If I didn't turn off physics, it would have kept rolling. But you notice that it stopped. It had an abrupt stop to it. That was that delay of 2 seconds to get it from its spawn point in mid-air to the ground, let physics do its job, and it started rolling. And then after that 2 seconds, we turned off the physics. So now we have a sleeping vehicle, which I bump into it. As soon as I touch it, you saw it move. Its physics is on. Now we're going to do it again, and I'm going to back out of the way. No roll this time. Just physics, NVIDIA physics. Yes, the graphics card company, NVIDIA physics. That's what's in Unreal Engine, at least PuBG's version and this version. I'm not even going to touch it. I'm just going to get in it. eh, nothing bad happened. Let's go over here, and I'm not gonna bump it. Get into it. Yay! That's what I'm talking about. Just bump it. Just bump it, guys. Just bump into the vehicle. Be cautious about it. Be mindful of the speed and the angle that you hit it, because it will have an effect, as I've shown with this vehicle here. It has an effect on where you hit it. I hit this one, and that one wanted to come up on top of me and crush me. But anyway, hope it was informative. If you have any more questions about this, what potential fixes, what's actually causing the deformation of it being in the ground and so forth, I can get into it. It's technical, it's long. But yeah, physics.